Good morning. Welcome into my home again this morning. And today I have entitled my message, Humility. And who was the greatest example of humility? In Luke 2:7, and it was talking of Mary, and it said, "And she gave birth to her firstborn son," which we know is Jesus, Emmanuel, "and she wrapped him in cloths and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." So here is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, God Himself, being born in a manger, born in true humility. He didn't make a grand entrance, but humbly born in a manger, because there was no room at the inn. Wow. Little did they know. And who did He reveal Himself to? So who did He reveal Himself to first? In Luke 2:8. "And in the same region there were some shepherds staying out in the fields and keeping watch over their flock by night." Well, in ancient Israel, shepherds were generally considered unclean. And why was that? Because they were out amongst the dirty sheep. They were out in the fields, and they were with the dirty, smelly sheep. They were in contact with them. But God used the humble. He brought it to the humble. And we are humble. We need to be humble too. God tells us not to think any more highly of ourselves than we should, right? Okay, so we are probably, some of us, most of us are not highly educated. Most of us are not rich. Most of us are just simple, everyday people. And those were the kind of people that Jesus called. And I love how He sent word to the shepherds. And the shepherds were the first ones to come and see the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Amen. Now, they wouldn't have been called in had He probably been called in, or had He been born in a castle or, richness. But they were called because they were humble, and God knew they would accept Him. And if you think about it, shepherds took care of the sheep. They brought them to greener pastures. They brought them to water. They guarded them, they watched over them. And Jesus is known as our good shepherd. And those are the things He does for us. He brings us into the green pastures. He gives us living water. He watches over us and protects us. He loves us. Then in Matthew 8:19-20, it says, "And a certain scribe came and said to Him," which is Jesus, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said to him, "The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay His head." He had no home. He went wherever the Father sent Him to go. He went out amongst the people, but He had no luxuries. He didn't have the luxuries we have of even just having a home is a luxury. Amen? So let's think again about His crucifixion. Okay, crucified between two criminals. The just between the unjust. the sinless for the sinful. He was treated like a criminal. He was beaten unbearably, unrecognizably, and nailed to a cross and crucified. And yet before dying, what did he say? In Luke 23:34, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Such humility. Jesus is our example of humility. He was never prideful. He never bragged. He was humble. He came as a humble servant of the Most High God. Amen? So let's think about that today. God bless you.